Okay, so opening face-off and already have a goal against, and we'll kind of watch it in its entirety and then kind of break it down and see what went wrong. So that's the goal against, 15 seconds into the game. Unfortunate, but let's kind of break it down. So face-off loss, that in itself is not a problem. We got winger to D's on the forecheck pressure. That's fine, not a big deal. So immediately they're trying to feed up the wingers and we get possession. That is like, this should have been a non-issue. First couple options we can do as D. I think number one, the one that makes the most sense to me, left hand, like you're on your strong side, left-handed shot, left side boards, bounce off the boards up the right to our winger, easy peasy, we are back on attack, or at least you've cleared the zone. Number two, skate it back, and you can opt to go all the way behind the net if you so wish to. It just depends on how much pressure you're feeling. Now if you have the skating ability, skate forward, pivot backwards, and then look for the D to D. Make sure you're on a you get the good vision, so facing up the ice, so you have good vision, and put yourself on a forehand, on the forehand for being able to pass the puck with accuracy and strength. And so those would be probably the two best options. And then the third, if you're feeling like you're really deep underwater and you're a lot of pressure, you can opt to rim it around, buy yourself some time, and just you're trying to bring the play to the other side and let your D partner relieve pressure off of you. Now, unfortunately, we do a backhand pass relatively close to the blue line, and I would say that's relatively dangerous, especially now knowing that the opponent has just gained the zone. So they don't have a lot of room that they need to skate into, right? It's pretty close. And so that brings a level of pressure that you probably don't want to give to your D partner. The main difference was, as opposed if you skate it down a little deeper, they have to come down with you. And so that kind of opens up the ice a little bit more and buys some time for the forwards to come back. Okay, so that in itself is still not a huge deal. Like, this is just a loose puck, no one got it cleanly, and it's still fairly straightforward. For loose pucks, we're technically going to want to usually attach to a player to a certain degree, not necessarily be completely next to them, but be close to them, because if we get the puck, then we can bust open ice and then transition that way. But in this case, loose puck or they have possession, we're going to generally want to attach. And we can see in general terms, it's pretty clear. This forward that was pressuring Justin, our lefty, they should be attached to each other. This third forward that's high will probably be covered by our centerman, Ray in this case, and then this player here, their opposite wing forward, will be covered by Alex. So pretty straightforward. Loose puck, we weren't able to get there on time, but already you can see this is some big problems. We've lost our attachment, and so right in front of the crease, we're really late to the party. Boom, puck in the back of the net. So 14 seconds into the game, not really the start that we would want, but we can see kind of what went wrong there. Okay, so been 5 minutes, nothing really noteworthy has happened until there. Now, on one hand, we had a pretty shit change on the whistle. They decided late after they've already lined up to go for a change. Bit of a mystery, but whatever. We see our right wing getting off the bench, and they have a bit of a trek to get to. Fortunately for us, we win the face-off, but we don't really have a winger to break out to. Number one. Number two, we should think about, we want our D to get to that support role immediately on the opposite side, and the first thought for our D-man is usually get either they can look for a quick pass up to the winger. Certainly that's fine. If there's an open lane, look for that center if there's an obvious lane, but otherwise, if you're feeling pressure, get your ass behind the net, because if you lose your puck here in the corner, way more dangerous. Zip a pass to the slot, possibly even a sharp angle shot. It's more dangerous than if you lose the puck directly behind the net. We have some means to fall back, and we have some time to work with. Maybe it's a second, maybe it's 2 seconds, but we can work around that because they can't shoot from there, but you know, wraps or pass out fronts are possible. But like I said, we can work with that. So what we do instead, pretty soft pass, hits this player, or I don't quite remember, either hits this player or it wasn't a clean pass. And what happens? We have basically a free pass to the slot. Not exactly what we want to see. That's kind of the importance of just bring it behind the net and buy yourself some time. So this clip is more a focus on Alicia here, and we'll just kind of pause the frame here. And Alicia's over here on kind of Lonely Island, and in some ways in the past I've said, if you're not really sure, being kind of behind the net serves as a support role for the player in the corner, which in one sense she is doing that, but also positioned herself in a way that where perhaps she believes this is possibly a good scoring opportunity, but it's such a sharp angle that you're going to need to really have pinpoint accuracy to get a good shot on net. Now, one of the things I said in the past is if you were to imagine cutting the ice in half, and you can just cut the line straight through the middle, it is, in my opinion, if you find yourself, if the puck is on one side of the ice, call it the left side of the ice, that do the same thing, but move yourself onto the opposite, like the side that has the puck. So in this case, Alicia can go behind the net and position herself somewhere there, or in this case, and let me just forward it a little bit, but you can kind of see there is a lot of empty space right here, and so she could definitely sneak up to this area, and there'll be a very clear lane from Dave for her to get a puck and shoot it on net right away. So in those instances, she would be far more optimized if she went behind the net. Now she's getting closer to Dave, so it's an easier pass to get to, and really you're gonna really make a firm decision. Do I need to support them, or do I want to be in a scoring opportunity? Now, number one, if you can get a good scoring opportunity with a clear lane to you, that would probably be the first choice. But if you're not sure of where to go, a support position is always going to be like, you can't go wrong with it. So let's forward it a little bit, and you can see lots and lots of open space. in either spot behind the net or here. So that would be my first choice for Alicia to get there. So she's not in my opinion, an optimized position. So not a really clean pass. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get a good attack there, but I think in this instance, this was more a focus on Alicia's positioning. So this is still a working theory. Now, it is in my opinion, at our skill level, that we want to get closer to the puck carrier. So in this case, the puck is over here. And let's just rewind a little bit here. So Kev has a puck, and it is in my opinion, we want to skate. Begin by skating towards them a little bit, and we're going to try to target getting down to roughly around our blue line if we have firm control in our zone, and avoid staying up near the red line or even the blue line. Definitely not the blue line. And I'll kind of explain why as we go along. So we got our wingers kind of cruising on the red line. Now that is not inherently a big problem, and we can see there is theoretically some space. Now one of the problems is there is greater distance to cover, and unless you're very good at passing, it's just a little bit more difficult. There's no way about it. The longer the distance, the more difficult to pass. So we would say, Alicia, I would prefer getting down here. Now, another benefit to that is usually if we're far away, in this case the center ice, we are on a standstill. And you can see Dave here is standing still. So let's kind of rewind here. Boom, cruises across, stops, and he's standing, right? Now, the added benefit, in my opinion, when we skate closer towards the puck carrier, it's number one. We are now facing the puck carrier, so that makes things easier to receive the pass. We have momentum, which means if you receive the pass, you can turn, tight turn, with some level of speed, and you're continuing that momentum. And now you're not flat-footed, and therefore it's easier to get up to speed. And so here's the demonstration. We get the pass. Now we're not at a standstill. We have some level of speed, so we can just turn, and it's easier to get skating. And in this case, this player is not able to catch up as easily as if you were standing still. Now, let's kind of rewind it a little bit. Let's say the pass did go to Dave on the left wing instead of myself. The other problem is, as you are higher up in the ice, call it the red line, call it a little bit higher, call it maybe even the blue line, something you can pay attention to is their D. The longer the distance, the easier for them to read how to get closer and strip the puck off you. Now, boom, let's say that puck did go to Dave instead of myself. Look at that gap. Not a lot of them, like distance for them to cover, and already they can strip the puck off of you. So that's kind of some of the things that you can consider versus positioning on these transitions in the neutral zone. Now let's keep this going, and I wanted to discuss the theme of positioning for Alicia. Now she kind of goes to the same thing. Like I said, we kind of want to, in my opinion, we want to cut the ice in half. So bring yourself onto that side of the ice. You can already identify what are some soft spots where there's no coverage. And I like to always say the default of outlining that circle, and the area of focus is on this quadrant. And that's typically a very, very good spot to initially default into. And so we get the puck in the corner, and here again we see lots of soft spots to get to that Alicia could occupy, and it'll be a very easy lane to pass to for a shot. So versus this very, very sharp angle, a little bit tougher to get the pass to. He was able to get a stick on it and deflect the puck away. Now, partially it would be also my fault. I had the space and time to skate out and open up for a better angle. But again, this is two parts to the equation. If we can optimize where we position ourselves rather than taking these really, really sharp angles where we have to force passes through multiple defenders, versus finding these soft open spots. And like I've said, if we cut that ice in half, we're just bringing ourselves closer, which means it's an easier pass to get to. And in this case, the most obvious area is right here. It just increases our offense potency. Okay, so Alex has made this mistake a couple times now in this first period, and we'll just use this clip to highlight it. And that's it right there. But what is the mistake in my opinion? So they get the puck up to the winger or one of their forwards right here, and Alex has to make a decision. He needs to either, one, get his ass in there and pinch, or two, immediately start your retreat. To be conservative, or in a standard defensive play, you start your retreat. If you want to be aggressive, you pinch. I can't say one or the other is better, but you have to make a decision. So the mistake here is he stands like a statue. Boom. He does neither. He does not pinch. He does not retreat. And so it is so easy for the forward to do exactly what they did. Chip it past them, and if they wanted to continue, go around them. Chip, flat-footed, they could easily beat him on a foot race because Alex still has to pivot if they wanted to. In this case, they're going for a chip and a change. Fine. But this was the mistake, and this is what we want to avoid. So to be on a more standard, and in general, you would want to start a retreat. But if you want to be more aggressive, and in this case, therefore, was fairly high, a pinch would not have been a bad decision either. So make a decision and act on it is really the key takeaway here. Now, this clip is just a generality questioning why did we go for a complex stretch pass when a simple chip up headman pass would have been plenty. And what do I mean by that? We get the puck, vast ocean of space that we can take. Super easy passes to get to that are shorter in distance and much easier to take. They can just skate up and pass in either direction as well. Instead, here is their heavy concentration of opponents. Let's do a stretch pass diagonally to where they all are. Let me just again highlight how much open space we have. Open space. Where is the pass going? A mystery. And then turnover. Just like that. So keep it simple. Get those passes short. There's no reason for a pass like that. So yeah. I am so glad we have this clip, which is a huge difference to the first 14 seconds that we had a goal against. Almost the exact same situation. We get the puck, same players. So we just in lefty on the left side. Boom, pivots, facing up towards the ice. That means he has the puck on his forehand with slight pressure. Gets it neatly across. And let me highlight a second part to it. We technically want to zigzag backwards when we're trying to relieve pressure. And what do I mean by that? Is when we're passing defense to defense, we want it to do in a backwards zigzag pattern, because it buys us time, it buys us space, and it lures the forwards towards you, and then thus creating more open space. So boom, the first backward zigzag. Now, how can we make this better is if Alex continues his backwards momentum and draws them more. So that means buying more space, more time. But in this case, we also want to see our lefty also retreating backwards, so that another backward zigzag D-to-D pass is an option if we need to. A bit of a poor decision here, and let me explain why. So he's opting to pass to the centerman rather than the D partner. But they're doing a very hard pass because they're feeling the pressure. And when you're feeling the pressure like that, oftentimes get it to D partner. So D to D passes, rather than a pass that can't be handled by the centerman. Now, part two to some problems. We're starting to get a little far, left wing, a little far. You just need to be on the opposite side of them. You don't need to be all the way to the blue line. And same thing with our right wing. Let's get ourselves by some width so that a pass across to the D-man can be easily rerouted up to the winger, right? So a few mistakes, which is making the breakouts far more difficult than it needs to be. And through sheer will, we're able to kind of get in the zone, but unfortunately we lose the puck there. So, some key things there. But it started, the very first pass was good. So we've talked about gap control in the past, and one of the most important things we want to highlight is we're trying to time ourselves where we put the most amount of pressure on that blue line. Ideally, the neutral zone is where you put the most amount of defensive effort. But with a odd man situation, this 3-on-2, it is fine to be a little bit more conservative. So one of the things we want to highlight is we've given them a little bit too much space. So pretty poor gap control. Ideally, we would have probably want to see Ray about here, stick length away, ready to kind of poke check them on the blue line, force them to dump, go around you, force them to do other things, pass it, but you're trying to make life difficult for them at the blue line. So clearly we've given up too much space. So it's a free entry, and now they have a lot of room to work with. They can start cutting east-west, going around the perimeter. They control the pace. And really, this all starts with poor gap control. So that's something we can improve upon. Now, at this point, what Ray is doing is okay. We're doing a little bit of containment. We're keeping them on the perimeter. And one of the things that Alex is doing is conceding too much space. He's continuing his backwards momentum. He's backwards skating towards the crease, which is not so good. Now, he may want to identify number 22 as who he wants to stick with. And in that case, he did a good job. Again, it all starts with giving them way too much space. We've backed up all the way to the crease. And so you can see how much of this box that we can control, very small. And that's not really good. We ideally kind of want to have a box of control of about this big, and we're forcing the other team to be around the perimeter. So too much space there, and we'll leave this clip here. So the sequence coming up isn't so great, and now keep in mind the shift for all members on the ice right now is probably approaching, it's been 2 minutes already, so we can keep that in mind. They're probably getting close to or a little bit tired. Now we had a failed clear up there, that's all fine, and to keep it in the zone. And right here, now one option of course is hard clear, chip it out, get it out of the zone. That's fine, but we're likely going to still have to continue defense. So the reset to D, I like it. Makes a lot of sense. But part 2 to that, yeah, that's fucking garbage. Let's just put it like, no two ways about it. Where is it going to? Who is it going to? Yeah. And part 2 to that equation is, what are our forwards doing? Like, I don't even know what this positioning is. We need to support our D. Get your ass over here. Make those passes short. Then it's a clear lane out. Where are we skating to? If we're gonna skate over there, we should have started with on the boards. And you're using, again, your forwards as that guiding post. And then, you know, if there's freedom, you can leave the zone and hope for a stretch pass. But this is definitely not it. Part 2 of that equation, we would probably want to see if we have possession for our D to start to open up wide. But, you know, it all boils, like, that doesn't really matter if the pass that's getting thrown out by our D man is kind of garbage to begin with. We have a turnover. It's a big pizza. Maybe a chance for a shot right here. Another player driving the net. A lot of danger kind of building up. Yeah, shot on net. They fan on it, so we get a little bit of luck involved. Now at this point, I think it's been another minute, so 3 minutes in. A clear icing would probably make sense, or at least get it out. I don't know, maybe they're not tired. But it doesn't help that our centerman is not ready for the puck. Oh, hits the skates, out of the zone. Oh, but it's not really out of the zone. So we're going to be back on defense quite shortly. Wow, our right D decides to go for a change. Suspicious. miss the net, and then take the puck back behind the net and go for the change. Now, this is kind of like what I've said with the safety zone. That's kind of why that is, and it's buying some time. But leading up to it, a lot of questionable decisions were being made. This one's a good clip where pressure on Alicia. We could say Ray's an okay spot, but with Ernest, if there's not really any clear-cut means of a pass getting to you, get to that support role, whether that means getting your ass over in the corner or getting towards the boards behind the net immediately. Right, so a little bit slow, it gets reversed, and we're a little bit late there, but that's fine. They get chipped up, but our D is ready on the boards to see. Now, Justin's able to keep it in the zone, and Ernest fills, so that's good. Pass across, slight miss. Now, it is not a problem that Justin goes deep in the zone as a D-man to join the attack. That's not a problem. The problem is the moment they get the puck, we need to fill our duties as a defenseman. So we got to get your ass back. And so perhaps we have forgotten a little bit, and you can see 1, 2, 3 forwards already behind you, and your D partner is back out in Lonely Island. You need to get your ass back here at a bare minimum. And so, boom, easy. This could have very, 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 very easily developed on a 3-on-1 situation, probably less than ideal. So, something to consider for all defensemen. It is not a problem to join in on the attack. It is a problem that once the opponent has the puck and we don't hustle back, odd man rushes develop. And you can't just say, oh, a forward should have covered for me. Yes, in some cases they should. But if they have possession for a clearly defined period of time, notably 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds, that's your clue that we need to get back. So that's comments for all defensemen. Now this is a continuation of our last clip, and I've said use behind the net as your little safety zone. Now whether you can stop up right there, change directions or whatever, if they're following you around, then you can continue. You can even do a ring around the rosy around the net. That's usually not a problem. So in this case, Alex opts to continue. Now, I've said in the past, on the breakouts, our wingers, we want to avoid standing by the blue line. Get closer. So in this case, Alicia, we need to get at bare minimum, that red line. Ideally even lower. And why? Why do we want to do that? It's simply because as a defenseman, it is so easy to pick you off. They can just stand here because that's where they're going to stand anyways, and they can just come in and poke check you if they get the puck. Now, to add on top of that, the forward, they don't have to be necessarily very aggressive. They can be super conservative, which is good on them because we're standing up so high. Now, if we're lower, which is here, or even here, for them to attack you, they have to make a decision. They either have to pinch very aggressively, they skate quite a distance away, or, in this case, the forward, they need to get closer too, which means they have more forwards deeper in the zone, which opens ice up for us. So, in this case, we do a pass, we're positioned way too far up. It's an easy read, so big turnover into the zone, shot on net. So it's a compounding effect when, you know, multiple factors go wrong, or just basic positioning, which are making it easy on the opponent. So this is the second goal against. We'll kind of watch it in its entirety again, and then we'll kind of figure out what went wrong. Okay, so coming into the zone, perhaps too much freedom. We like to attack on the blue line, so a little bit of free space given to number 3 is the first thoughts. And so they get a shot on net, and that's fine. It's directed to the corner. That should be like all not an issue. Now the first thinking is, like, positionally we're all kind of fine. 33 probably covered by our centerman that's on the floor right now. This player is going to be that far side post and then whoever this is probably going to be generally covered by the right D. And then the defense, so in this place, this left defenseman and the right defenseman is going to be covered by the wingers accordingly. So let's kind of observe. Oh, that's where one of the sneaky parts goes in. The lefty has started to drive that net, so our winger has lost track of them. And we can say arguably both our wingers. I don't know what the heck our left winger, Ernest, is doing over there, but certainly some interesting things going on. But we can see our lefty has snuck in behind enemy lines, and so our winger should definitely be there. And so we have a numbers disadvantage, and then puck on net. Now part two to that equation is, we can't say it's entirely the winger's fault, is that I'm not entirely sure where Ray is going. Now you could make an argument that if Mike had the puck, he could have kept going, but it wasn't quite clear yet. So our first priority is defend that front of the crease, which we aren't doing. Right? So we're late there, and so that's kind of how this goal unfolds. And then on top of that, Ray falls down one more time. A little bit of questionable puck chasing by Ernest here, our left winger. One question is, what is he doing behind the net? And then yeah, we gotta highlight again, Alicia's we gotta keep track of your defensemen. Yes, generally speaking, they're usually gonna be up here on the blue line, but sometimes they're not gonna be, and they're gonna be sneaky. In this case, they are sneaky once again, so we gotta pay attention to that. Number 2, this defenseman has no defender because our winger decided to be behind the net. Questionable decision. And so what happens here? Free pass, free shot. That's a yikes. Our wingers are not there. Let's see what happens again. Get it down low. A little scrambly. Little scrambled eggs action going on here. But luckily, we were able to get it out. Ernest gets hooked on the stick, and then we get a penalty drawn hooking call. Okay, so power play. Let's kind of watch it in its entirety. We are down to 1 minute 35 seconds for some reason, unfortunately, but it is what it is on a runtime clock. And how can we improve? So far movement's good, keeping around the perimeter. I like it. Now number 3 is definitely playing more physical than what you expect in co-ed, but fine. So 1 shot on net. One more minute left. And then number 3 hooks me down into net, takes out their own player as well. Beautiful chance. So let's kind of rewind this. We've kind of said the slot is perfect. I like usually generally that edge of the circle, but this is like just as prime real estate as you can get. Usually you just aren't able to get this much freedom of space in the zone, and that's why I generally recommend here on a 5-on-5, but in this case we're in a power play. And so if we're able to get a clean pass here, boom, it'll be a one-timer, but kind of rolled off the stick. Shot chance there, and they clear it. So chances so far, and I think we go for a change here. We got about half of the power play left to go, so we'll continue watching what happens. I like it. So continue. Getting a little too fancy. Sometimes it might be better to just get it in the zone and establish possession. Okay, we'll drive chance there. See what we're doing here. Okay, decent attempt. Power play is over. So let's see if we can convert anything here. And that's it. So I wouldn't say anything too glaringly obvious on improvements. Now perhaps on the zone entry here, if we rewind a little bit, that's okay. We take some width and we're going up the ice. Now that part got maybe a little too fancy. We've already wasted a decent amount of time allowing the defenders coming this way with this little drop pass. So one would probably want to think about skating it up, drawing back to the middle, and then looking to dish it off this way rather than doing a little soft pass like that, and really you're funneling them into this death zone. So all the defenders are already here, gonna cream him right into the blue line. So his only choice is to dump it, number 1, or maybe do a reset. So we're really not putting him up for success, right? So it gets killed just like that, and so we have to reset it again anyways. Just something to think about. And then we now do what we should have done at the very beginning, is just move it back east-west, and now we have so much free ice. So make sure we are scanning the ice. Don't just like do soft passes. Make sure you're leading them to an area that you want them to be open ice, right? So some fancy moves here, but so this play is leading up to our first goal 4, and just getting in the zone, take a shot. Now we can highlight how this is the same thing that can be said for the opponent's team. They're giving me a ton of space, whereas they, to some degree, they should probably be challenging at the blue line and forcing a pass to the outside to some degree. Now, an argument could be said, an odd man situation, and so they need to be conservative, but this allows for a lot of freedom to go into the zone. And so we're able to get the puck up and then Dave is able to establish net front possession, like positioning, without being in the crease. And so a shot, tip, and into the net. So great goal, great shot. Now let's rewind a little bit and talk about from here. And normally I would say Kathy, in this case a winger, perfect, get into that support position. In this case, Dave is establishing the net front, and so we're sort of missing a player up high for a shot. Not necessarily a big deal. So, but it's something that Kathy could consider. And it's not to say she's in a bad spot. She's kind of side of the net. We can get players in front of the crease to jam it in for rebounds. But alternative option, if she ever feels like she doesn't want to be down there, is move up to the soft spot, right? In this kind of area, the slot, the magic spot, and then you can have a opportunity to get a nice shot on net from there as well. So some options that she can think about, but it all boils back down to the concept of, if you don't know where to go, a support position is never a wrong position. So behind the net, we're going to be secondary support for passing. We can work this triangle very easily. There's nothing wrong with that. And number two, one of the things, key factors I like, is we're biasing ourselves onto the side of the puck. So instead of being over here, we're already bringing ourselves onto one side of the ice. It just means shorter passes. It's easier to make more short creative plays, gives and goes, rather than trying to look for the long stretch pass for the booming one-timers. And it allows for more creativity. But as an alternative, if we're seeing some open ice and no one's there, an up high position, this magic spot area, it's not it would not be a bad decision to go there either. So some takeaways here as well. Funny little blooper here. Had to go for a reset. Boop. And I run right into Justin. All good though. Alright, so face-off loss. Immediately, freeze frame. Holy smokes. This is just too much. This is too much. Like that's just too much real estate given away. That's just too much. And I think the same can be said for the forwards. To apply some level of pressure, but really the key factor is this blue line is think of it this way. The neutral zone is where we want to put a lot of the heavy lifting on defense. If we can kill the play there, that's where we want to kill the play. Now the last line of defense is this blue line, and that's really going to put all your marbles. Really plan how you want to put your pressure right on that blue line. So letting them skate around you in the neutral zone, like that's fine. But if you're going to put yourself in a position, make sure you're trying to force them to do a dangle, a deke on the blue line. Multifaceted reasons for why you want to do that, and easily the number one is you can force an offside, a whistle, and you can go back to the face-off dot. So that's one of the things for all the forwards and the D as well. That last line of defense is that blue line. Make them work for it. Make them dump it. Make them chase after it. Don't let them have a free entry like this. This is too much space. And so they skate in, easy shot on net, right? That's dangerous. Could have been a goal. And so I think it just rolls out, but they shouldn't have the ability to just come in like that without having some sort of pressure. This breakout was really bad, and there's a lot of elements of it that I kind of wanted to highlight. On one hand, Kev had to battle with the forechecker, and immediately, let's kind of rewind. My thinking is there should be some support from the lefty. So Mike, in this case, I would have generally said get into the opposite corner, that if he needed to, he could pass it across, and immediately that kind of relieves forechecking pressure. And then if that forechecker decides to follow to Mike, you can do ring around the rosy and just bank it behind them back to Kevin. Now, part two to that equation is, let's take a look at where our wingers are. That's too far. That's way too far. And so let's kind of zoom when they get to the puck to the opposite side. This is miles away, and on top of that, how easy is it for this player to intercept? I'd argue pretty easy, right? So now let's continue, right? Still, it's just too far. You're almost at center ice right here. You are at center ice. And so, yeah, same with Kathy. We could have the argument to come down a little bit closer, but it's certainly better than center ice. Let's not kid ourselves here. And myself as a center, I can definitely be a little bit closer, positioning in front of number 33 at the very minimum. And same deal with the defense. I think eventually Mike does this, gets to the opposite side, but instead of having to skate there, I would say it starts off easier if we are there. There you go. That's way cleaner. So we were able to, that part, we were able to get a zone, but I think leading up to it before, not so clean. We're getting a little bit too aggressive on how far we've spaced ourselves. I think this is a good highlight of my preference of coming down low. And so Ernest, our left wing, has come down low, and now it's much easier to receive the puck. Where we start the speed, starts getting forward now. Boom, like this, lead into it. It's easier to work with when you're not so far ahead, and you also have some speed to skate into it. Now in this case, Ernest gets interrupted, and he also gets tripped, drawing another power play. So nicely done, 2 power plays for us. Unfortunately, the power play started near the end of our second period, so we lost a little bit of time there. But let's watch the entirety of this power play and see what we could do to improve. Now, number one, we're too passive. We're in a power play. We should immediately put some pressure on this player because we have a man advantage. So this is too passive. That's way too passive. Get some pressure. And who's on the power play here? This is conservative. Way too conservative. Way too conservative. I mean, yes, granted, number 3 is a very good player. It's too conservative. Finally, we break it up. Oh, nope. "30 seconds killed so far." Oh my god. 45 seconds killed so far. A minute killed so far. And I think that's our power play right there. Oh my god. Tons of decision, vast ocean of open space. Bring it to the middle for a shot, pass down low, shot for the rebound, pass for the one-timer. Riskiest and I guess you can argue worst decision. Yeah, but thankfully it's not a breakaway chance, but sketchy. So not a very good power play, we'll have to say, we'll have to admit, not a very good power play. This is our penalty on Alex. Seems a bit soft. They called it trip. I don't really see a trip. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't seem like a trip. Question mark. So we'll watch our penalty kill in its entirety. See what we can say about it. Loose puck. And Kevin goes all the way for a shorthanded goal. I believe it's 2-2 now. We'll continue watching the penalty kill. Let's skip some time here. $50 seconds left. Clear the puck. That's pretty much what we want to do. Don't spend too much energy chasing them down. Maybe a little bit, but don't need to go too crazy, especially on a penalty kill. But again, if we... So, the rules still somewhat apply. If we can put pressure on the blue line, but sometimes we can't just due to numbers disadvantages. And so we can be a little bit more conservative. But the rules, same rules kind of apply. If we can, we try to, but if not, it is what it is. And about 3 seconds left, I think. And Alex comes out, opts to go for a change. Instead, let's see if we have a big chance. And we'll stop it there. So, not too many things of note on the penalty kill other than the shorthanded goal, and same concept. If we can, hold it at the blue line. Otherwise, try not to be too conservative. So Alicia asked me on the bench, what was the whistle about, and this is entirely my fault. So you can see we're coming into the zone, and it definitely caught me a little bit off guard. She lost control and critted over it, and so that is my fault. It is the players without the puck's responsibility to watch the player with the puck at all times where they are. And so I need to either straddle the blue line, which is one leg on one side, one leg on the other, going in either direction until we're ready to go in, or I need to stop up. In this case, I wasn't prepared, and so I went over, clear offside, so that is 100% my fault. Should not have happened. So I briefly talked about this with Kathy at Shinny, and one of the things, this is the first example, is that we're coming up like this, and now it's in my opinion, you want to face towards up on the ice, and what this allows is your body positioning allows for better passing. And what I mean by that is when you're in the forehand position where your body is facing our net, realistically speaking, your range of motion allows for the best passes to be done in this somewhat of a semicircle or a quarter of a circle. Versus if you're facing up the ice, your range of motion that is ideal for passing is in a semicircle more like this. So part two of that equation is we want to lead the pass for the centerman, and typically speaking that's probably going to be in a zone like this. And I said when our body is positioned like so, we have to contort ourselves in a way where our accuracy drops, and right, that you see how the awkward twist needs to happen, and so a pass is not as nice. Theoretically, Ray should have gotten that, but part of it also is a problem where we're perhaps not a sufficient lead, and another part of it is ideally we want to at least get it out of the zone. So and we have a little bit of ice to work with, and alternatively as well to face up the ice, because we have a wider range of motion to work with in a comfortable state. This lane opens up as well. But enough of that. That's just my opinion of how we want to orient our body so that we're putting ourselves in a position that is it makes our life easier. So we have the play leading up to our third goal against. Numbers wise, we should be fine. And so let's watch it in its entirety. Boom, goal. What could we do differently? Number one, so we're keeping them out behind the net, perfectly fine. This is all fine. And at this point, we need to identify players in front of the net once they have crossed across. So in this case, Justin probably wants to either tie up number 3 or 33, one of the two. And the biggest problem that I could see is that we do not want to get into the crease of our goalie. If the opponent gets into the crease, that's goalie interference. Cliff can't move, he can't make the save. But if it's our own guy, well, what can we do? And clearly you can see right here, Cliff is trying to push across from left to right, but Justin is there, so he's not able to move, and that's why Justin falls, and so they're able to bang in the rebound. So that is a tough one. Now, part three to this equation is I do initially get the stick tie up on number 33. Now with this kind of kerfuffle going on, I lose that contact, so I wasn't able to get a good stick lift on. And then number 33 is able to bang home the rebound. So yes, lots of moving parts to this. Very unfortunate. I think one of the key things we want to think about: don't get in the crease. let our goalie do the work. If they crash the crease, if they're interfering with Cliff, you know, that goal gets called off. If we're interfering with them, it's 100% our fault. So that's the third goal against. Kind of unfortunate.